Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Donna. So very happy to have you here today. And for those of you not new, thank you so much for continuing to come back to my channel and support me and love me. And forgive my voice today. I came back and I'm sick all of a sudden, which is awful because my chest is killing me. I never get sick. But apparently, the gods shined down on me and said, you shall too be sick. So, today is my next installment in my palette roulette series, and we are going to be going over the Natasha Denona Star palette. So, I have to say that I had a lot of fun with this palette this week. It traveled really well. I did pack it in a carry-on. I didn't take a checked bag. I have this huge aversity to checking a bag, which is silly. I'm going to have to start checking bags because I need more than what I packed for myself this last time. It traveled really well. With that being said, it did go into a carry-on bag, so I'm not sure how it would travel in a checked bag where there's like throwing things everywhere. I have to assume that if you packed it super tightly into a checked bag, it would probably travel just as well as it did for me in my carry-on bag. So this is the Natasha Denona Star palette. This is what the exterior looks like. It is a nice like faux leather exterior that is silver with some stars on it, and it does say Natasha Denona Star palette. This palette is $169 retail. It does have a very nice mirror inside and a flap here that tells you what all the shade names are. And then it has 18 shades of color. Each of these shades is 0.08 ounces. So this is roughly $9 per pan. And each of these shades is like twice the size of a ColourPop shadow, which you are spending $5 to $6 a piece on. So with that being said, there was a long period of time where I was like, Natasha Denona? No way. I don't feel that way. I do have one of her mini palettes, and I have this palette and the Lila palette, and I have to say that I feel like these shadows are well worth their cost. $9 per pan is not bad, and these pans are pretty decent sized pans. There are 9 mattes in this palette. There are 3 metallics, 2 duochromes, and 4 crystal shadows. They are long lasting. They have strong color payoff. Most of the time, the color that you see in the pan is the color that it will be on your lid, which I find to be not so true for a lot of other palettes in my collection. I want to talk a little bit about the palette first, and then I'll go into the swatches. The reason why I'm going to go into the swatches after is because I did not put all these swatches on my hands. I am going to put the swatches on after I am done with this video, take a picture, and then put them in this video when I'm talking about the swatches so that you guys can see more about the actual colors of them. This palette worked best, in my opinion, dry. So even though we have quite a few like metallic shadows in here, I felt like when I wet my brush with any of the metallics or the duochromes, that the brush was going on strong the first couple of you know, pats onto my eye, but then it just started picking up the shadow instead of laying it down. So I found it to work best dry or on my finger. I'm not a finger makeup putter oner. I don't like doing that. I don't like touching my palette if I don't have to. That's just a personal preference. But with the crystal shadows, so there are four crystal shadows, and they are this one here, which is Spectrum. Then we have this one here, which is Cosmo. This one here, which is called Galaxia. And then this one here, which is called Polaris. I found that using those shades on their own was a no-go. You would consistently find glitter down on your face and just everywhere in general if you do not use a glitter glue with those 4 shades. Other than that, the metallics go on really, really well without a glitter glue, and they stay put. I have got this one here, which is Bellatrix on my eye today. It has stayed exactly where I put it. This duochrome right here called Orion also stays right where I put it. I have a look that has that this color here on the lid that I will have in the photos for you. They work really well without having to have a glitter glue, except for those 4 crystal shades. There are 4 different formulas in here. You have your crystal shades, which are those guys which are more of a glitter than they are anything else. This one here is really beautiful, but it's super sheer, so I used it as a topper more than anything else. You also have your creamy mattes, which is a great majority. There are 9 of them, so it's a majority of this palette, and they are beautiful and they blend beautifully. And then you have your duochromes, and there are two of those. They are this one here, which is Orion, this one here, which is called Supernova. I didn't really find this one to be super duochromy, but it does have a nice silver shift. It just takes this one is definitely more like instantaneous duochrome, and this one is a little more like you really have to like dig into it to see the duochrominess of it. Sorry, my phone just keeps going off. It's a really pretty like brown to silver shift, but you really have to know that you're looking for that shift for you to really be able to see it. And then there are 3 metallics, which are the Bellatrix Atria, which is this one, and it is a really pretty, oh god, so pretty orange metallic. And then you have this one, which is called Ray or Rhea. It is a really pretty coral color. This palette is cruelty-free, talc-free, paraben-free, and sulfate-free. It is great with a primer. It is great without a primer. I find that the colors last just as long and perform just as well with or without a primer. You don't really need one with these. The fallout is super minimal except for those crystal shadows if you do not have a glitter glue. And the kickback is pretty intense, I have to be honest. Like, especially with the glitters, they're all over the place. All over the place, and they tend to stick to this palette, and I'm not really certain what this palette is made of, but the glitters just, everything just sticks to the palette, which can create a super messy palette. For those of you that are not into messy palettes, you'll hate this because there's quite a bit of kickback with these shadows, and it just sticks to the brown or to the black of the palette. The one thing I do like about this palette is that you get warm and cool tones in this palette, and they all work well together. I know that there's this like stigma that you can't put warm and cool together. It just doesn't look good. Every single shadow in this palette works well with each other, and I think that that is amazing. You do have a nice warm and cool mix in here, so I think that that is awesome. So let's talk about the shadows really quick. So the first one we have here is Spectrum. This is one of your crystal eyeshadows, and it is a golden brown color. The second one we have here is a matte, and it is called Earth. It is dark brown. I'm going straight across the palette, so the first 6 shadows, second 6, last 6. The next one is Bellatrix, and it is a nude pink color. I think on the website it claims that it is just like a nude, but I find that it's very, very pink in undertone. The next one is a Diadem, and it is also a matte. It is kind of a gray violet matte. The next one is Vega, which is a very light pink shade. I found it to work really well in my crease. The next one is Galaxia, and it is one of the crystal shadows. It is sheer and icy and really multifaceted, so it could look pink, it could look brown, it's just a really pretty shadow, and I used it as a topper a lot more than not. The next one is Flesh. It is a matte and it is a warm nude color. The next one is Orion, which is one of the 2 duochromes in the palette. It says it's a green brown. I found it to be more of a green blue shift. It does have a little bit of brown undertone to it, but it's mostly a green blue shift. The next one is Gemma, which is a red brown, a really beautiful red brown, honestly. None of the browns in this palette are built the same, so. The next one is Phoenix. It is a matte and it is like a bright red purple. It is also in my eye look today. The next one is Supernova, which is the second of the duochromes. It has that brown silver shift, and like I said, you need to know that it has that duochrome nature to really see that it is a duochrome color. The next one is Electra, which is a dark red purple, kind of like a burgundy color. The next one is Atria. Atria is one of the metallics in the palette. It is an orange bronze color. Not quite copper penny bronze, but not quite orange in nature. Titania is the next one. It is a matte, neutral, medium brown with kind of a gray undertone, in my opinion. The next one is Cosmo, which is one of those crystal shadows. It is really gold in the pan, but it actually on your eye looks a little more olive. The next one is Polaris, which is another one of the crystal shadows. It is like a golden beige, kind of a champagne-y color. Very, very, very pretty in any eye look. The next one is Addict, which is a cool toned nude with kind of a pink undertone. And the last one there is Ray or Rhea. Not sure how you say that, but it is a metallic coral color that is just beautiful. Do you guys have the Star palette? Let me know if you have the Star palette and what your thoughts are on the Star palette. When I first started thinking about purchasing Natasha Denona shadows, like I said, my big thought process was, holy crap, that is so expensive. Why would anybody pay that much for a palette? But I really have to tell you, the mattes that Natasha Denona comes up with are the most stellar mattes. They blend so effortlessly into each other with exceptional color payoff. You can put all the browns on your eye and have a multifaceted brown eye look, and you can see each one of the colors, which I think is stunning. The metallics blend into the mattes so effortlessly, and I've had trouble with metallics before. I just think that overall her palettes are worth it. I have even been considering purchasing the green brown palette, or the green blue. Is it green brown? I have been considering purchasing that because I love greens. Greens are my favorite color. And that one's $239. But realistically speaking, like I said, each one of these pans in here is almost twice the size. I think ColourPop shadows are 0.04 ounces and these ones are 0.08. So with that being said, they're twice the size of a ColourPop shadow for less than twice the price. So if I spend $50 on ColourPop shadows to get, you know, somewhat near the same amount or the same colors, I might as well just purchase the whole palette of Natasha Denona and get twice the amount of product. With that being said, I've heard, I don't know for a fact, that her eyeshadows expire rather quickly. So that might not be a budget-friendly option, especially if you're a person that has as many palettes as I do. So I try to use my Natasha Denona palettes as much as possible because I have heard that her shadows expire rather quickly. This guy has been part of my collection for roughly 6 months. The Lila palette will be going on a year here shortly. I believe my kids bought that for me for Mother's Day last year, and it's still going strong. So I'm not sure what the expiration of it is. I believe this says 12 months on, yeah, it has the little indicator that we expire in 12 months, but I've not seen that true with the Lila palette. And I don't know about you guys, but with my powder products, I tend to hold on to them a little bit longer, as long as I'm keeping them in a safe, you know, for them environment and not really exposing them to extreme cold or extreme heat. I don't find that they are one of the things that I really pay a whole lot of close attention to the expiration date of the powders on. So if it starts to stink or the color payoff isn't, you know, as good as it used to be, that might be an indicator that it's expiring, but I haven't found that to be true yet with the Natasha Denona shadow, but I have heard that it is pretty accurate. So we will see, I guess. So that's the last I have on the Natasha Denona Star palette. So now I am going to pick my new palette, and to those of you who have been watching this series for a while, I did go ahead and take the palettes that we have already used out of my Decide Now app. I felt that that was better than having to redo it and redo it and redo it. So I have a Samsung Note 9. I use the Decide Now app, which is in the Play Store for Android, and it is just a free Wheel of Fortune type app that you stick all of whatever you want it to decide on for you into this wheel, and then you name the wheel, and then you spin the wheel. And I think it's rather genius that they have these. I got the idea from Dana Bow, who does the Palette a Week series. She is who inspired me to do this series. Her, in addition to my friend Lisa I, that gave me the idea in the first place and drove me to Dana Bow's channel to check out her Palette a Week series. All of her information is in my drop down box because she is who inspired this series. So I put all of my palettes into this wheel. This is our 20th week, and I have taken out the 20 palettes that we have used in the past in this series, and we still have quite a few to go. So I'm going to go ahead and spin the wheel. You just spin it by pressing on the wheel. And it picked the Kat Von D Alchemist palette for our palette this week, which is funny. It doesn't have very much to it, so I am probably going to, this will be a week when I pull in some additional single shadows so that I can get, you know, deeper eye looks with this palette. Let me go get that palette really quick and we'll talk about what that looks like. Okay, for those of you unfamiliar, this is the Kat Von D Alchemist palette, and it is just this triangle palette that just has 4 shades inside. It does have a nice mirror to it, but these are the 4 shades inside of that, and they are just like shade changing shades, in my opinion. They are you know, a green one, a blue one, a violet one, and a pink one, and they're more of a topper shade. I don't find that I have ever really used them on their own. So what this week is going to look like for me is using these shades in conjunction with some of my single shadows to create eye looks that I can get photos of and show you how this palette functioned for me. I've also used this palette as a highlight on my face, so we will see. We will see what this palette has in store for us next week. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I know that you don't have to click on my video, so it warms my heart that you do. I appreciate every single one of you for coming, stopping by, watching my video. I hope that you're enjoying this. Let me know if there's anything about this series that you would change, and I hope to see you guys in the comments section down there. Let me know if you have the Natasha Denona palette or the Alchemist palette, how you're feeling about this series, what you would change about this series, if anything. What you'd like to see more of in this series, if anything. And again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you liked this video enough that you'll want to give me a big thumbs up. It really does help our channels out here in YouTube world. I also hope that you liked the content or me enough that you are considering subscribing to my channel. I would love to have you along for this crazy like midlife crisis of mine. Thank you so much for joining me today, and until next time, guys, bye.